Hello, everyone. Welcome to this message. So, let's just go here, right? So, as our first card, we have the Green Woman. Um, and then these next two cards are Taden the Sylph and the Spirit Dancer. And then, as our overarching energy, we have the Tree of Diamonds and this card that says Be Proud of Yourself with a potato on it. So, which has to do with like in the past, like learning to peel potatoes with a knife, right? Which is kind of interesting because this relates to especially because I had like a little bit of an encounter with a narcissist as it relates to that, right? Because and now it relates to control, like a narcissist seeking to control me through making me have to peel potatoes with another kind of instrument that I don't want to use, right? So it has to do with control as well. And there's something here about divine alignment because this is my card, divine alignment. So it could be that you are taking control over a situation where people want you to do things in a certain way and you are choosing divine alignment. So you are choosing divine alignment instead of being controlled by people, instead of being other people telling you what to do. So be proud of yourself as it relates to that. That you are staying in divine alignment. That you are staying in alignment with yourself as it relates to. You not allowing yourself to be controlled by other people, that you do things your own, the way you would like to do things, right? And that you are doing things your own way, and that you are in moving in accordance to divine alignment. So that's really beautiful, and you should be proud of yourself as it relates to that. And then let's see. So there's something here about that. Some kind of natural movement, so something that is that if it were to be able to grow, that it would grow um, very rapidly, quite likely, because it has to do with natural growth, wild growth, right? So if you are, this also relates to this quote, I guess, this piece of wisdom, where it relates to that where you that it depends where a flower is planted, right? So if you plant a flower in the right conditions, in the right environment, then it will really flourish. If you plant it in the wrong environment, it will not flourish, right? So it could be that there is some kind of a containment, that the right conditions need to be met. So for this thing that would likely become very, very abundant, very naturally abundant. So it would be something that you, for example, don't need to market, you don't have to try to sell or anything. Like it would go really, really fast, like hardly any marketing, hardly anything you have to say about it, like hardly anything you have to do. It's like something like natural growth that will wildly and naturally start growing, a little bit like certain plants that go a little bit too fast, right? So it has to do with that. And they're also a little bit like a weed, right? In the sense like I'm seeing that in the sense that what God wants to say is like certain plants, like once they get started, right? It's very, very hard to get rid of them, you could say, right? So it's like it is yeah, this would be some kind of growth. Like once this starts, it will be so naturally grow, so wildly growing that it will be like just like certain plants like spring up everywhere, right? You can't pull them out quickly enough because like it just keeps on growing, keeps on growing. So it's something that cannot be hindered, it cannot be stopped, right? So once this starts, it cannot be stopped, but it has to do with the right conditions, the right environment, right? And there's something here about that we need to have a little bit of a 360. So it could be that God wants to say like you need to go in a different direction. We need to make a little bit of a handbrake turn, going into a completely different direction, because this is the if you look at it from a higher perspective, you're just not in the right environment, you could say. Like you are just not in the right conditions for something to really start to grow, to really know a wild natural growth in a sense. So there could be a reason why you all of a sudden are making a 360 in your life and you need to go in a completely different direction, right? So and the spirit dancer has something to do with like you breaking through some kind of invisible wall. some kind of invisible barrier. So this will be how you are going to create that breakthrough, that kind of invisible spiritual breakthrough, where all of a sudden, after you pass this invisible barrier, all of a sudden things start naturally growing in your life, and you can't even stop it, right? So, like, in more in the sense that other people cannot stop it. So that's what this means. So once this starts, I don't think other people can stop this. It will be like you can't contain that, just like something wild cannot be contained, right? So let's see. And then we have Mikalamakal, which has to do with a very, very playful. So there's something about creativity, playfulness. This is something that has something to do with the childlike nature. So the childlike nature. So let's just first go here and then look there. But like there's something here about but something very playful, very creative, very childlike in a sense. Um, Very free, maybe very joyful. There's something about that, an aspect to that growth, perhaps. And there's something here about that you are transitioning, and but that someone is an onlooker, because Mike the Myomancer is an onlooker that looks at that is looking at this, I guess. Mike the Myomancer also studies patterns, I guess, studies details, studies behavior. So, but recently he has become an onlooker of some sorts. So let's just see what this could be about. Um, so we have the green woman, right? So there's something about a natural growth that's being inhibited in some kind of way. Maybe because it's the wrong environment. So it could be because this is a wild nature, this is a playful nature. It's very similar to each other, right? Because a child is very creative, is very playful, is very perhaps like innovative, is excited about things, is enthusiastic, is just trying things out, experimenting, exploring. So this is an element that needs to be there in order for you to create that transition. So if you look at it from a higher perspective, you are currently in transition towards something. And I don't know why Mike the Myomancer is here yet, but you are currently in transition. And maybe there's someone who is an onlooker while this transition is happening. And there is like a spirit dancer is like create, like you are about to, like there is some kind of a breakthrough, right? Like a, so maybe this person is seeing that there is some kind of a invisible barrier that you need to move through in order to get to this other side. So I don't know why Mike the Myomancer is here currently, because he studies patterns, he studies details. He is an onlooker these days. So someone who sees things happening in your life. It's not that Mike the Myomancer is negative, but there is something about an onlooker. And it could be a negative onlooker as well, of course. So let's just see. And then we have Heave the Fiery Sword. So this has to do with communication, also with the masculine principle. So you taking charge of things, you being a leader, you being very intentional, taking control of your life, taking leadership over your own life and your own direction. So and there's something about that you're talking about the end of something. So maybe you are starting to talk about that, about the that maybe something has is emotionally completing for you, or is like there's nothing emotional about a certain direction, perhaps. It could be that there's talk of the end of something, that you are talking about perhaps moving in a different direction, or that something isn't emotionally, it's some kind of is there's nothing emotional about it anymore for you, perhaps. So let's just see. And then at the bottom of the deck, we get simplicity and a Zen philosophy. So that's very interesting. And the world card. So there's something about maybe you are moving into a more simple life, um, and perhaps a more Zen life could be the case, right? So this relates to me to me this is like a channel, a very very interesting channel on YouTube that creates these videos that are very very relaxing in a sense. These are like cooking videos, and this person like records the sound of like the chopping board and chopping the vegetables, and he doesn't speak. Like everything happens in complete silence, and you only hear the vegetables being chopped and such. So it could be that your world is completely silent. um yeah, your world may be completely silent in a sense. You could be living a very simple life, a very zen kind of life. Yeah, and there's something about the end of a chapter and beginning of a new chapter, because numbered like the world card has to do with transitioning into a new life. So maybe you are transitioning into a more simple life. um yeah, that you are transitioning into more simple life and more zenful life, if that's a thing. um a more silent life as well, like literally that there is not much sound in your life. um yeah, very mindful, very present, um simple, that you're going to be moving into that. So yeah, but you need to be in the right environment. That's very very important, and I think it has especially to do with this here together, that you are needing to, perhaps as well, if we connect it to this, you cannot be controlled, right? So this the right environment would be an environment where you cannot be controlled, where you get to do things the way you want to do things, that you can discover and explore in a very explorative, adventurous kind of way, very playful, very like for example, trial and error kind of way. Um, that you have to do things your own way, not the way other people do it. Um, and that this is in divine alignment, that you would do it in your own kind of way. So, whatever this is, you need to do something in your own kind of way. And you cannot let yourself be controlled by other people as it relates to what you feel is in the line of divine alignment for you to do, and the way you feel you should be doing it, or the way you are approaching it. Like, don't allow yourself to get controlled by other people. So do it your own way, and be proud of yourself that you're not allowing yourself to be controlled by other people, that you are doing things in divine alignment, that are in divine alignment in the way that you think is best, quite likely, right? Which is also in divine alignment for you to do it the way you think you should be doing this, because you need to do it your own way, right? um, so that is what this means, right? So keep doing it your own way. And I do think like you, yeah, this is also a little bit rebellious, right? So be a little bit rebellious, do things your own way. It is in divine alignment, so don't worry about that. You should be proud of yourself for not allowing yourself to be controlled like that, for staying in divine alignment, for moving in divine alignment. And I do think there is some kind of playful aspect to it. So I do think wild and playful. So it has to do with daring to make a mess of things as well. Because Mikkel and Makkel oftentimes to me is like a card of like daring to make a mess of things, like daring to fall flat on your face, fail, make a mess of things, and just figure it out as you are exploring, as you are trying things out, right? So that's what this means. Like, you need to do it your own way, and maybe your way is to make a mess of things, of like falling flat on your face and like trying things out and like testing, like, okay, this doesn't work, maybe that will work, right? So to just approach it in your own way, however that may be, even if it is a little bit uh even if it's very much you could say, right? So let's just see. um Someone who is wild, I guess, also wild doesn't, it's not really contemplated true, right? It's just doing things and just figuring it out by doing it, right? So that's what this actually means, I think. And but from a higher perspective, you are transitioning, and you are needing to make uh, quite a handbrake turn in your life, really move in a completely different direction. And you are courageously transitioning yourself into something new, into a completely new future, which is in divine alignment. So be proud of yourself. And there's something about that there is an onlooker that is seeing you as you are about to be perhaps breaking through, or like this whole process of you breaking through this invisible barrier, that there are onlookers that are looking at that, um whatever that may be, right? um and there is a talk, maybe you have been communicating about this, or there is talk of you ending something that you are emotionally, that there's something that is just not emotional for you anymore, that you are not invested in it anymore emotionally, and you're moving into another direction. You're taking charge, you are taking initiative, you're choosing the direction, you're taking control, which is really beautiful. And you are transitioning into a new world, into a new life, into a new direction for yourself. The end of a chapter, the beginning of a new chapter, and this new chapter, this new world will be much more simple, and it may be characterized by some kind of Zen philosophy, perhaps. So it may be a very quiet world as well. So I'm wishing you a very, very beautiful day ahead, and bye bye.